Time's up. They say when this clock hits midnight, that is when the world ends. So, what happens when the doomsday clock hits midnight? Stay tuned and watch this amazing video that will shock you. Let us begin. Firstly, what actually is the doomsday clock? The doomsday clock is a symbol that represents how close we are to destroying the world with dangerous technologies of our own making. It warns how many metaphorical minutes to midnight humanity has left. Set every year by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, it is intended to warn the public and inspire action. So now you know what is doomsday clock. Let's move on to the second question. What happens when the doomsday clock hits midnight? According to Bulletin Director Rachel Bronson, when it was originally launched, the clock's countdown referred to an exchange of nuclear weapons, which would have large-scale consequences for humanity and the planet. Today the threat from nuclear weapons remains, but another equally large threat is climate change. Midnight would mean that experts think things on Earth have become extremely bad, but it isn't really intended to reach midnight. It is purely illustrative based on the opinions and predictions of the Science and Security Board that run it. The most likely disaster to happen is World War III. If World War III happened, then of course there will be usage of nuclear weapons. So, if a nuclear weapon detonates, what happens? First, let's talk about short-term effects. A single nuclear weapon can destroy a city and kill most of its people. Several nuclear explosions over modern cities would kill tens of millions of people. Casualties from a major nuclear war between the US and Russia would reach hundreds of millions. It takes around 10 seconds for the fireball from a nuclear explosion to reach its maximum size. A nuclear explosion releases vast amounts of energy in the form of blast, heat, and radiation. An enormous shockwave reaches speeds of many hundreds of kilometers an hour. The blast kills people close to ground zero and causes lung injuries, ear damage, and internal bleeding further away. People sustain injuries from collapsing buildings and flying objects. Thermal radiation is so intense that almost everything close to ground zero is vaporized. The extreme heat causes severe burns and ignites fires over a large area, which coalesce into a giant firestorm. Even people in underground shelters face likely death due to a lack of oxygen and carbon monoxide poisoning. Now let's talk about long-term effects. Long-term effects. In the long term, nuclear weapons produce ionizing radiation, which kills or sickens those exposed, contaminates the environment, and has long-term health consequences, including cancer and genetic damage. Their widespread use in atmospheric testing has caused grave long-term consequences. Physicians project that some 2.4 million people worldwide will eventually die from cancers due to atmospheric nuclear tests, conducted between 1945 and 1980. The use of less than 1% of the nuclear weapons in the world could disrupt the global climate and threaten as many as 2 billion people with starvation in a nuclear famine in the long term. The detonation of thousands of nuclear weapons could result in a nuclear winter which would destroy our fragile ecosystem. Just pray that World War III must never happen. Like and share this video if you gain some knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.